ओके, वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द चैप्टर इलेक्ट्रोमैग्नेटिक इंडक्शन. ठीक, लास्ट चैप्टर में हम लोगों ने मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स कवर किया था. तो मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स को, फ्लक्स वर्ड को फाई से रिप्रेजेंट करते हैं, और अगर मैग्नेटिक वर्ड आ गया तो उसको हम बी साइन उसके सबस्क्रिप्ट में लिख देते हैं. ठीक, अब नाउ व्हेन वी आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द वर्ड मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स, उसका मतलब क्या होता है. लेट्स सपोज आई एम कंसिडरिंग कि यहाँ मैंने कोई डोर लिया और डोर के क्रॉस मेरी कितनी लाइंस पास हो रही हैं, तो उसी को बोलते हैं फ्लक्स. कि हमारा कितने नंबर ऑफ मैग्नेटिक लाइंस एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया से उसके नॉर्मली पास हो रही हैं, मतलब परपेंडिकुलरली वहाँ से निकल के जा रही हैं. तो हमने यहाँ लिखा द मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स थ्रू एनी सरफेस विच इज़ प्लेस्ड इन अ मैग्नेटिक फील्ड इज द टोटल नंबर ऑफ मैग्नेटिक लाइन्स ऑफ फोर्स क्रॉसिंग दिस सरफेस नॉर्मली. इट इज़ मेजर्ड एज द प्रोडक्ट ऑफ द कॉम्पोनेंट ऑफ मैग्नेटिक फील्ड. मैग्नेटिक फील्ड प्रोडक्ट मतलब मल्टीप्लाई नॉर्मल और एंड द एरिया. अब यहाँ पे ना एक बात ध्यान रखनी होती है कि जो भी हमारा सरफेस था उसके नॉर्मली क्रॉस होते हुए मैंने मैग्नेटिक फील्ड ली, और ऑब्वियसली जो एरिया होता है एक सरफेस का वो हमेशा आउटवर्ड्स होता है उस सरफेस से, है ना. तो इसलिए हमने यहाँ पे इस चीज़ को प्रोडक्ट मतलब मल्टीप्लिकेशन हुआ मैग्नेटिक का, मैग्नेटिक फील्ड का एंड सरफेस एरिया का. सेकेंड चीज़, अगर हम फ्लक्स के बारे में बात करते हैं तो वो हमेशा स्केलर क्वांटिटी होती है. नेक्स्ट, अब अगर मैंने मैग्नेटिक फील्ड का लेट सपोज कोई कंपोनेंट ले लिया, लेट सपोज वो मैग्नेटिक फील्ड हमेशा तो ज़रूरी नहीं है कि वो एक सेम डायरेक्शन में होगी. तो अगर वो किसी एंगल पे हुई मैग्नेटिक फील्ड, तो ऑब्वियसली लेट सपोज आई एम कंसिडरिंग कि वो थीटा एंगल बना रही है, तो इस मैग्नेटिक फील्ड का कॉस थीटा वर्जन हमने लिया और एरिया तो इसी डायरेक्शन में था ही. तो वी आर हैविंग कि बी कॉस थीटा इंटू एरिया. सो नाउ वी गॉट फ्लक्स इज इक्वल टू बी ए कॉस थीटा, और वी कैन रीराइट दिस थिंग एज बी वेक्टर डॉट ए वेक्टर. दिस इज कॉल्ड एज मैग्नेटिक फ्लक्स, or we can simply write flux because EMI chapter is already consisting of the word magnetic. Okay, now when we are getting that this flux is equal to B dot A, or we can also write BA cos theta. So now let's talk about the direction of the vector A. The direction of the vector A is the direction of the outward drawn normal to the surface. We were talking about this only, that if we are taking the surface and the area will be outwards perpendicular to the particular surface. Okay, now again let's suppose if the surface is not symmetrical, like if we are having any random surface which is not of the particular shape, either of square or rectangle or anything, so in that case how we have to proceed, we will be taking a very small flux d phi across a particular smaller area. So due to that the magnetic field will be in the perpendicular direction to that, and the area will also be in the perpendicular direction, for which we are considering that magnetic field is uniform, so I am considering that as B, but area is small dA element I am taking. Now this perpendicular direction of magnetic field will be B times of cos theta, or we can simply write B as B, but area I can take the direction which is normal to the surface, or we can write that B I can take the direction towards the area and area as it is. Like either of the component you have to write, but you have to make sure कि either B should be in this direction, then A area you have to bring in this direction itself. Okay, or if area you are proceeding with this direction, then you have to take the B component in this itself direction, so it will be B cos theta. Either of the things you can take, either B cos theta or A cos theta, depending upon the direction you want to proceed in. Okay, so accordingly if we will integrate both the sides, what I will be getting, that this integration sign will be getting deducted with the derivative sign, so we will be left with only flux which is equal to integration of B dot dA. Depending upon the numericals given there, you can proceed accordingly. Okay, now when we already talked in the previous chapter the SI unit of magnetic field, that was called as Tesla. Now when we are talking about the SI unit of magnetic flux, it is called as Weber, and its notation is capital W into small b. Now how we will be defining 1 Weber? It is the flux produced when the uniform magnetic field of 1 Tesla will be acting normally over an area of 1 meter square. Like we can compare this thing to remember with the formula in terms of SI unit. Like we know this flux is being donated by Weber, that we will be calculating. We already know the magnetic field SI unit is Tesla. area magnetic area, SI unit is meter square. So 1 Tesla into meter square will be equating to 1 Weber. So in this way we can just define this. Now in CGS system we have the unit Maxwell, which is being notated as capital M into small x. Now what is the relation between Maxwell and Gauss? So it is 1 Maxwell is equal to 1 Gauss into centimeter square, and accordingly we have the relation between Weber and Maxwell. This is very important, which will be telling that Weber is the SI unit of magnetic flux, Maxwell is the CGS unit of magnetic flux, and the relation that is holding between these two is 1 Weber is equal to 10 to the power 8 Maxwell. Understood? Now we have the dimensions of magnetic flux. When we have the flux formula as B into A, now can I write this F is equal to QVB sine theta from the previous chapter? So I can write this magnetic field as F upon QV sine theta, right? Now we know the SI unit of force is Newton, SI unit of charge is Coulomb, SI unit of velocity is meter per second. Now I have to represent these in terms of SI units. So we know the SI unit of Newton is mLT minus 2. The SI unit of Coulomb, I already told you, you have to remember this with the trick AT. So CAT you have to remember. So capital C, which is coulombs, can be expressed in terms of their dimension as AT capitals. Now meter per second LT minus 1, right? So we can just solve and multiply this particular thing, magnetic field, with the area to calculate flux. So we did this, multiplied with area. So we are getting the dimension of flux as ml2 t minus 2 a minus 1. Okay. You can just note. Now we have positive and negative flux. See, when we are talking about the positive flux, it's basically representing that the direction of magnetic field and area are similar. Like if we are taking magnetic field in the eastward direction, then area is also in eastward direction. So the angle between them is 0 degree and the flux is positive, and we are getting the answer plus BA. But if magnetic field is in a particular direction and the area is in the opposite direction, so they will be making the angle 180 degrees. So we are getting the value of theta as 180, flux will be negative, and the answer will be minus BA. Okay. Now we finally started with what the chapter is electromagnetic induction. Those were the basics to carry ahead. Now, electricity and magnetism are intimately connected. How? In the early part of the 19th century, the experiments of the Oersted, Ampere and others established that the moving charges are producing magnetic field. Okay, we knew that. But the converse effect is also true. Like if the moving magnets are there, then they will be producing electric currents also, which is the important factor. Now, in 1831, Michael Faraday in England, almost simultaneously Joseph Henry in the USA discovered that the currents are produced in a loop of the wire if a magnet is suddenly moved towards the loop. Like if I am taking this loop, I will be showing you the experiments now, or I will be moving away from the loop. Then the flux will be getting induced. Why? Because the magnetic field lines which is across these area, which is flowing from this area, will be changing as soon as I will be moving away or I will be moving towards it. Okay. So the current in the loop lasts as long as the flux is changing, and the phenomena is called as electromagnetic induction, which means we are inducing electricity by the help of magnetism. The last thing, now we are getting on the conclusion that what do we actually mean by electromagnetic induction. See, it's a kind of phenomena which is getting produced or which is producing an induced EMF. Induced word is always coming when the particular body is not actually touching anything. So induced EMF due to the change of the magnetic flux or the magnetic field lines which is crossing a particular area which is linking with a particular circuit is called as electromagnetic induction. Now, Faraday did 3 experiments to explain this. So we have Faraday's experiments here. Experiment 1 was when the induced EMF is with the stationary coil and the moving magnet. So what is happening? See, here we can check. This is our circuit magnet which is connected with the galvanometer. Okay, galvanometer is connected so that we can detect the direction change, like if it is coming towards, what is the direction change, and if it is going away, what is the direction change. So first thing, in the first case I'm taking that the north pole of the magnet is moving towards the coil of the magnet. Now what is happening, the EMF or I can take the flux lines which is linked with a particular circuit are getting increased. So that's why what I just saw, that when the north pole of the strong bar magnet is moved towards the coil, the galvanometer, let's suppose I'm taking, is deflecting towards the right of the zero mark. Like if this is my galvanometer, this is deflecting towards the right of the zero mark. Okay. Now, so in the second case I'm taking when the north pole is moved away from the coil, then what is happening? See, when this north pole is moved away from the coil, then the flux lines which will be linked with the particular circuit is being decreased now. So what I am observing, that this galvanometer is showing the deflection in the left hand side of the zero mark. This is the zero mark. So it is showing the deflection in the left hand side. I am considering that, okay. We don't have any idea how to detect till now. So in the above experiment, what I just now saw, that if they are repeated by bringing the south pole of the magnet towards and away from the coil, again the direction will be getting reversed, right? So when the magnet is held stationary anywhere, near or inside the coil, will there be any deflection? Obviously not. Why? Because no flux lines linked with a particular circuit is getting changed. So as soon as the relative motion between the magnet and the coil ceases, the magnetic flux linked with the coil stops changing, and so the induced current through the coil becomes zero. That is the particular case that we were talking about when this is at rest. Okay, so no flux lines will be getting changed. That's why there is no induction. Clear? There was one more experiment in which the induced EMF with the stationary magnet and the moving coil is being done. So what is happening? See, when the relative motion between the coil and the magnet is fast, so the deflection in the galvanometer is large and the relative motion is slow. So the galvanometer deflection is small in this case. Like when they are both moving, for an example. So let's suppose I'm considering this as the stationary, but magnet is on a moving pulley. Okay. Then in that case, we check the first case. Now second is, faster the relative motion between the magnet and the coil, this is a fact, greater will be the rate of the change of the magnetic flux, okay, which is linked with the coil. And when the change will be greater, so obviously the induction of the current will be larger, right, because they're directly proportional. Third experiment, what they did, that the induced EMF is done by varying the current in the neighboring coil. So when the tapping key is pressed, the galvanometer shows momentary deflection in one direction, and when the key is released, it again shows deflection in the opposite direction, obviously, but it will be in the opposite. Okay. Now if the tapping key is kept pressed and steady current flows through the primary coil, then galvanometer does not show any deflection. So as soon as the current in the primary coil is increased, how it will be increased? By the help of rheostat. It's a device which used to induce the current by changing the resistance. Okay. So the induced current flows in the secondary in the same direction as that at the makeup of the primary circuit. Like in the initial stage, whatever current was flowing, that will be flowing at the end. So as the current in the primary coil is decreased, so induced current flows in the same direction as that at the break of the primary circuit. So now we have certain conclusions, that whenever the magnetic flux which is linked with the closed circuit changes, an induced EMF and hence an induced current is set up in it. Obviously, induced word will be coming into the picture when the flux lines linked with that is changing. This is our final crux. And higher the rate of change, higher will be the induced EMF of the current. Clear? Now we have two laws, or the Faraday's laws of magnetic induction. First law, what they said that whenever the magnetic flux linked with the closed circuit changes, an EMF is induced in it, which lasts only as long as the change in the flux is taking place. And this particular phenomena is called as electromagnetic induction. Now, this we already checked from these three experiments that we did just now. Second law is very important. They used to ask in exams many a times that the magnitude, means this line you have to put, of the induced EMF, means this, is equal to rate of means divide by time, change of means small d, magnetic flux means phi. This is the formula. Now how to calculate the mathematical expression or the mathematical form of the laws of the EMI. Let's calculate the expression for the induced EMF. Okay, now we already knew that the magnitude of the flux is the rate of change of the flux, right? Now if we are taking the Lenz's law into the picture, then the direction of the induced EMF will be opposite to the direction of the flux lines which is changing. Lenz's law is not in our syllabus, but we used to study that. I'll explain you later on. Okay, so the negative sign shows that it opposes magnetic flux. If coil has n number of turns, we can multiply n here and I'll be getting the final formula, that is minus n d phi by dt. Now how can we open this d phi by dt? If let's suppose in the time interval 0 to t, the flux is changing from phi 1 to phi 2, then what is the change? That is phi 2 minus phi 1. So now we are getting the final formula, that minus n into phi 2 minus phi 1 by t. Yeah, now you have to start doing the numericals.